Hey everyone, I'm just going to give everybody a second to get logged in before we start. All right, well, good morning or good afternoon, maybe even good evening, wherever you're joining us from today. Welcome to today's webinar co-hosted by the New York Oracle User Group and Oracle partner Viscosity North America. We've got an awesome presenter for us today, Oracle ACE Director, Mia Urman from Aura Player. And yes, this is a live webinar, so feel free to ask questions in the Q&A chat field. There is also a generic chat where you can reach out to me or anyone from NYOUG, and we'll get to you as soon as we can. If you've got any issues with audio or visuals, just let us know. And if you've got questions directly for Mia, our speaker today, pop those in the Q&A and she'll get to them when she can. All right, and also today's webinar is also recorded and you'll be able to rewatch that. We'll tell you how a little later. But real quick, my name is Monica Lee and I'm the marketing director here at Viscosity, a full Oracle stack consulting firm with core expertise in Oracle database, including RAC, Oracle Apex, near zero downtime migrations, performance tuning, high availability. We've got decades of experience with infrastructure, including engineered systems. And we've been helping our customers for the last year, preparing themselves for Oracle Database 23C and upgrading to 19C. And we host monthly workshops through orapub.com. Co-hosting with me today are NYOUG board members Coleman Leviter and Rob Edwards. Rob is going to tell us a little about NYOUG. Then I'll quickly introduce you to Viscosity before we get started with Mia.
Hey, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Rob Edwards. I'm treasurer with NYOUG. New York Oracle Users Group was formed in 1984 for the exchange of ideas, assistance, and support among users of Oracle software products. We can be found on X, was known as Twitter, Meetup, LinkedIn, Facebook, and our own website, nyoug.org. And we'd like to thank Viscosity for co-hosting these webinars with us for the past 3 years. Monica?
Thank you, Rob. And yes, if you are familiar with our webinars, because we have been doing them together for a long time, I will try to make my little pitch quick. I know you're familiar with it, but if anyone's new, Viscosity is an Oracle consulting firm. And I'm just going to kind of skip around a little bit. We are built on these three main pillars: data, apps, and infrastructure. Down across the bottom, you'll see services we offer across all pillars. So if anything here speaks to you and you need any assistance with any pain points here, feel free to reach out. You'll get a follow-up email from me as well as one from NYOUG after today's webinar. This slide shows some of the consultants we have that are part of the Oracle ACE program. These guys actually work with our clients and they're also presenting worldwide. They're publishing books, blogs, etc. If you're not familiar with the Oracle ACE program, I would definitely look into it, especially if you're interested in finding really good, rich content, or if you're interested in becoming an ACE, kind of like our speaker today, Mia. All right, here's some of the books we've got. We've got over 25 books across all of our consultants and management. So hopefully you have some of these. Our most recent ones are Oracle Database Performance Tuning, Upgrading Oracle Databases, and Oracle on Docker. We'll actually be at Oracle Cloud World giving out a couple copies a day, Oracle on Docker copies, and I think we're giving away Upgrading Oracle Databases, which we just updated like a month ago. So if you have it, maybe you want another copy. All right. And I'm just going to quickly wrap this up. Orapub.com is now powered by Viscosity. If you've not used Orapub.com yet, I highly recommend going and creating a free membership. We actually house all of our webinar recordings here. We also host live training. There are a lot of other tools in there. This was actually created by Oracle ACE Director Craig Shalhammer, and he's been working on a really cool AI piece in here for paid members, where basically you can ask this bot a ton of different Oracle database questions, and it's pulling from a bunch of Viscosity content, which is fabulous. And it is still in a beta, sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Stage, but it's super fun and it's got great information. Thank you. So again, you can go here and create a free membership, and that's how you rewatch videos like today for different webinars. And yeah, you can just go browse through and see other things. We'll have the slides on there as well. And if you're interested in looking at a paid tier, a lot of times your organization might reimburse you for that. So I highly recommend looking at that. It's just a bunch of great knowledge share and source of Oracle technology resources. So and for other events like today, head over to events.viscosityna.com. Of course, you can also see webinar postings at nyoug.org. But Viscosity is back to a lot of in-person events. So if you're interested in attending something in person or seeing if we're hitting a city near you, go check it out. Hopefully you follow us on social media as well. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Rob and get you guys introduced properly to Mia. And if you are just joining us, it is recorded. You'll receive a link to rewatch it from NYOUG and Viscosity after it's finished rendering. And I think that's it. Use the Q&A box if you want to ask Mia some questions. And I think that's it. Rob, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Mia Urman is a Oracle ACE director and world-class expert in Oracle development techniques with over 20 years of experience presenting, supporting, training, and consulting. As an Oracle alumni, she spent years as a senior support and product manager for Oracle developer tools, Java, and application server technologies. She is currently founder and CEO of Oracle, a development house providing specialized mobilization, modernization, and RPA automation for Oracle systems. Mia, it's your floor.
Mia, are you on mute?
Yeah.
I am on mute. Okay. Now can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I said thank you so much, Rob, for that introduction, and thank you, NYOUG, for that. Very nice to be hosting us here. And I just wanted to say it's such a tribute to Viscosity, where they bring in Oracle ACEs from all different companies, from all different topics, from all different, so important for them to kind of bring knowledge to the community way beyond even the scope of what is necessarily things, what different tools, different products beyond the database. So thank you so much, Monica, and thank you, Viscosity, for making sure that the Oracle community gets to know about the latest and greatest technologies. So today we're going to be talking about robotic process automation, specifically with Oracle eBusiness Suite, but also with Oracle in general. But what's most important is today's session is going to be for you. So we don't have a huge amount of people, so I get the pleasure of actually hearing from everybody if they have specific questions, if they have things that they're grappling with, if they have things they want to share. Feel free, as Monica mentioned, to use comments on the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer throughout. So as Rob mentioned, my name is Mia Urman. I'm the CEO of a company called Oracle, where essentially we started out doing modernization of Oracle forms way back when, and we're still doing it. Our solution for automation Oracle Forms basically allows us to wrap Oracle Forms to automate it from any next generation technology. And that way you can move your forms into the next generation without migration or redevelopment. So we do this for Forms and EBS. It's a patented solution. And me, myself, I'm an Oracle ACE director who also loves talking to the community, attending lots of conferences, and in general, making sure that people don't get to make the most out of their Oracle investments, right? People have paid millions of dollars over many years for these huge enterprise back office applications. And we want to make sure that people are able to leverage them in the next generation and not always have to throw them out for the next best thing. So I wanted to know a little bit about who's on the screen, who's here, and what level of technology we're running. So if people want to do a quick poll, feel free to shoot their answers into the chat or to the Q&A. Number one, if you wanted to let me know if you're running eBusiness Suite, if you're running database, and what versions of EBS you're running. Feel free to enter it into the chat or to the Q&A. We have some brave soul, 19C database with 1229. Next, what is your job role? Are you guys RPA developers, DBAs, IT managers, project managers, citizen developers? Probably mostly DBAs, right? And we were just mentioning that the NYOUG has a lot of DBAs, EBS DBAs and developers and application developers. Okay, great. So we have the right people online. And is anybody using automation yet? Coleman, you have to answer. I was very happy to hear from Coleman from the board that he's actually doing some automation with UiPath. So it's very interesting. And yeah, and Melissa said not yet. Okay, great. So we're all, it's perfect. Sounds like we're all at the perfect place, which is that we're the right community, but we haven't started yet. So let's get started. The first thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is what's the difference between an API and an RPA. So a lot of database application developers and DBA application developers have been doing a lot of APIs already, right? It could be stored procedures in the database. It could be with Java. It could be with running things through flat files and running scripts. And what's really the difference between that and when we do automation, when we call it robotic process automation? Next, we're going to go a little bit into the best practices of RPA, what makes a good use case, how to select a good use case, what do we need to set the groundwork before we start our application. Next, we're going to be talking a little bit about avoiding the pitfalls of automation, how to set up our project for success, not only at the outset, but how to maintain and monitor and make sure that we're moving successfully forward. Next, we're going to go into the specific challenges of Oracle RPA and Oracle eBusiness Suite automation. And then we're going to talk a little bit about getting started. And I'm going to leave some time for questions, of course, at the end. And as we said, if at any time there are questions, feel free to shoot them in the Q&A and we will get to them when we can. So what an API is, an application program interface, and basically it refers to a piece of software or a script or a piece of technology that allows for communication or integration between two programs. But most of the time it's meaning that it's happening on the back end, okay? Meaning a database is talking to a data structure, they're sharing functionality and they're able to interact with one another, but it's only in the back end. So this differs from an application, meaning it's not entering fields into a form itself. Rather, it can go directly to the database layer, okay? In order to get these types of APIs, a lot of times applications come with it out of the box. So Oracle eBusiness Suite has a whole set of SOA Suite APIs that have been delivered. However, they're kind of pretty rigid and they were pre-built for you. Or you have to build your own API, which could be programmed using, like we said, PLSQL or Java, and you build basically an integration that would allow somebody to run certain business functionality on the back end from external. The difference between an RPA means Robotic Process Automation. This actually refers to a software bot. So what does that mean, a bot? It means almost like a macro, if you guys have ever used Excel, where somebody steps through the application on the front end, okay, meaning the visual layer, and it's doing or mimicking basic tasks across the application that an end user would be performing in the application. So it is actually used for things like data entry, reducing the burden of repetitive, simple tasks. But the key is that it simulates the front end worker on the front end of the application, and includes all of the checks and balances and validations. When you click the save button on the screen, any of the business logic that occurs in the form itself will also be run using RPA. Usually RPA with traditional tools is run even by running the actual application, and you see the application box running through the forms just as it was pre-recorded to perform all the actions. So there are actually three major types of automation, and more people are moving into the world of AI as part of automation as well. But for our intents and purposes, for Oracle EBS automation, there's kind of three major types. The first one is called attended automation. This is meaning that a bot could perform part of the business functionality. It could start, for example, we have people doing purchase order approvals. An email will come in with a new purchase order in PDF. A bot will dissect the PDF or parse the PDF and insert it directly into eBusiness Suite. Then the portion that's called attended automation means I do not want that purchase order to go directly into EBS. I actually want to send that purchase order to somebody from the financial team to take a look at, to approve, and then only upon approval will it go into the system. Okay, so attended automation is configuring a bot to work together with a human actor in order to have any type of check, validation, or to complete the workflow. Unattended automation is something that could be automated from start to finish, does not need any human intervention, and it could be fully automated by a robot. Examples of this could be, for example, to open and close journal periods. Okay, we know at the end of each month we need to close all the journal periods and open up the next journal period. This is something that has to be done monthly. It's totally a robotic task. Everybody kind of complains about it, but it's something that doesn't need human intervention, and it could easily be done by unattended automation, meaning that we perform the task of closing the period in Oracle eBusiness Suite. Then we perform the task of opening the period in eBusiness Suite, and it will then play back in an automated fashion on a monthly basis using a robot. Of course, if there's any errors, that could also be programmed in to send an email or things of that nature, and then, of course, to look at afterwards. Cognitive automation is what we're getting more and more towards, which is meaning the ability to take unstructured data. So for example, there's this really cool medical app where you could send a picture of any type of thing that was appearing on your skin, if you have a mole or things of that nature, and automatically it is able to compare it to other images that it finds in the data bank to be able to say if there's something that is worrisome or not worrisome. If it's worrisome, it could send it to a doctor. If it's not worrisome, it could reject it, and things of that nature. So it's mostly used on unstructured data. It's used in conjunction with machine learning and artificial intelligence, and it's going to be used more and more in the healthcare realm. So for those of you who are going to go to Oracle Cloud World, or are you going to be hearing more and more webinars from Viscosity. There's actually an incredible session that I went to from Viscosity about artificial intelligence and machine learning, all about this type of thing, where more and more the machine learning is able to read through unstructured data to be able to catalog it, and then we're going to be able to automate that as well. So that's kind of the future of this whole automation. So the best practices of automation, basically, for those of you who are just getting started, this is the steps of the process that we have to go through in order to have a successful automated process. First, we choose the use case that we want to automate, okay? I know that sounds silly to put even as a step, but you'd be shocked how many people don't properly define the workflow and say, okay, I want to close a journal period. But what exactly that means for them, they haven't really looked at in an effective manner. And then at the end of the day, they're not able to properly capture all the different validations and flows that could happen, right? It could be that the period has already been closed. When you go to close the period, it's already been closed. It could be that there's some open transaction that has to be closed a transaction first, or things of that nature. So before you actually go to automate the process, you want to select a valuable use case and define the workflow. Then you automate the process. We do that by, as we said, recording or capturing the process in the application. No matter what tool people are using, there is different ways of capturing the process. Automation Anywhere has some sort of UI toolbar. UiPath, you do it by clicking and pointing on fields on the screen. Using Oracle, our solution, we have a process capture toolbar that actually copies all the actions that are performed in the form as an end user is working. Once the process has been automated and running, you want to then monitor the outcomes. Okay, so it's not enough to kind of send an automation out there and let it be, in the wind. You have to make sure that you see if it's successful, if it's failing, why is it failing. It could be that there's errors that could be then recalibrated and put back into the automation to redefine the workflow in order to handle more cases and more of the error handling. So this is the kind of the process in general from a high level perspective. How do you know that you can even benefit from doing automation, right? Not every process is benefiting from automation. So the first thing you have to do is check if you have a clipboard. If in your organization, people are walking around with clipboards where they enter in data and then they retype it into e-business suite. I went to an organization that had not only a clipboard, they had a clipboard that they typed into an Excel, and then they had an Excel that they put a flat file into EBS. So they were literally doing almost 3 separate data entries instead of being able to just automate that one EBS process. So those are the types of places where you kind of should be looking out for how you could reduce this manual data entry. We want to check if there's workflows that would benefit from running at night, from having maximum uptime, from being able to be launched 24/7. You want to be able to do things like eliminate human errors if there's copying over data. So a lot of people are now doing purchase orders that come in from email because they saw that copying over the details of a purchase order from a PDF into an Oracle EBS system, there ended up a lot of errors in grand totals and things of that nature, where later on to try to find them out, of course, takes tons of time to reverse engineer where was the extra zero in some data that was copied over of the hundreds of purchase orders that could have been copied over, right? So essentially, people could benefit from automation from all of these different facets. And a big one for automation is QA and automated testing. A lot of people are now creating automated tests to be able to play them back for testing, especially upon moves to cloud. A lot of people are now wanting to move to OCI, to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, want to move their e-business suites, and they want to be able to test to load test, to functionally test as they move to the cloud. So this is some of the major benefits from automation. Now, once you decide that automation could be helpful, how do you begin? So I never recommend starting to boil the ocean. Okay, everybody says, oh, it would be great if we could automate, creating a new customer and then the pay to cash and all of these major complex automated flows. What ends up happening is people try to boil the ocean, and then you don't have clear milestones, clear decision points, and your management says, that's ridiculous. We just invested so much money in automation and we have nothing to show for it, right? What we try to do is to zero in on the best workflow to automate. How do we do that? We choose the most valuable workflow, a process that has clear rules and a fixed decision point, meaning a consistent, repeatable pattern, that it is something that is able to start to finish with a simple workflow, that you have inputs clearly stated, outputs clearly stated, right? Inputs and output, input and output parameters, and of course that have measurable outcomes. It's also very good if it can contain different systems, and of course if you can measure the ROI, your return on investment, right? So if you're saying there's something that everybody's doing that takes them 3 hours a day to do, if you're saving, right, 3 hours a day times, 500 days, what's it called, 250 days a year, you could really start to build a value proposition for your business to show how automation could really bring you that savings and that ROI. When not to automate, I know it's kind of funny to put this slide here, right? When we're talking about automation, you think I'm telling you to automate everything. But there's a lot of things where you start to automate and it's so unpredictable, right? Oracle e-business suite is an incredibly complex application. There are tons of things that have pop-up windows, or if it's a client that's with a certain credit history, without a certain credit history, different things happen in the application. It could be that there's different flows where the data takes based on certain decisions, or things that are very, very require a lot of human decision making, right? We talked about attended automation, whereas a human could come in and ask a question, be asked a question in the middle of an automation to continue with the process flow. And that's, of course, okay if you have 1 or 2 questions. But if there's like 20 different places where you have human decision making or human validation or human approvals, those processes might not be ones that are the best to automate, especially at the beginning, right? The key is to really keep it simple. If it's something that a human could do more quickly than it would take to automate and run it, then of course we should kind of stick to the more mundane, repetitive tasks, and not ones that are kind of pretty unpredictable with lots of pop-ups and changes. So now that we kind of know what to automate, how do we avoid the pitfalls of automation projects, right? There's a lot of automation projects that people get all excited. They start out, they buy this automation tool without really looking so much into it. They're all getting ready. But the first step is really to choose what we call a high value use case, okay? Not the use case that everyone thinks necessarily, but one that you could really determine a long-term cost. So it's not necessarily always the most frequently done use case, but it's one that it could save you the most money, provide you with the most efficiency, and literally help people the most on their day-to-day jobs, right? That's why I said that it could be that it's even in the area of QA or QA automation. Next is to plan the journey. remember, I don't know, maybe Coleman remembers, but when we learned technology way back when, we used to draw out these like maps of decision points, program mapping, and that's literally what I always suggest to do. Build a workflow step by step. What are the decision points? What are the inputs? What are the outputs? Who are the people? And you draw literally a map of the workflow itself. What are the bot flows? And what are going to be some of the sample errors, and what should occur if there's a sample error. But really plan out your journey before you get into any tooling, before you start building anything in any application. Next, you identify the decision points and the actors. So it could be that there are decision points in the application where things get error messages, where things drop off. Do we need an actor? Does it need to be an attended automation? Do we need an approval from an end person, from an end user? Do we need system people to be involved? Or could it be that we just send an email that a process has failed and they handle it offline, right? So it's very important to understand, especially at the beginning, at the outset, if you want to make your workflows more complex by adding attended automation and adding trigger points and validations into the actual workflow itself, or you want to handle a lot of the outliers and the error messages offline and keep the use case much more simplistic to begin with, right? The next one is, I cannot even stress how important it is, which is something that nobody thinks about, which is build on stable ground. RPA is only as good as the application it's based on, okay? We've had customers start doing RPA and they've added 100 bots on top of their existing EBS system, where they didn't realize they've just added 100 end users to EBS, thereby changing the whole scalability of EBS, and it could be leading to instability, right? So before you start any type of automated process, I don't suggest anybody does automation on Oracle Forms 10G, right? It's not supported, it's not certified. It could be that you're on operating systems that are not certified or supported. So before you build any type of automation on top of an existing system, you should really make sure that that system is stable, it's certified, and it has a supported backend. You guys are very quiet, so I'm assuming that everything's understood by everybody. But if not, like I said, please, please, please feel free to put yourselves in the comments and let me know. Oh, wow. Where did you just come from? Let me know if you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer as we go along. The next thing that's very important is to get end user buy-in. For some reason, the minute people hear the word automation, they're automatically thinking that they're out of job, right? That they're out of work. A lot of people tend to get very antsy when they hear that because they're doing repetitive, boring tasks, that we're bringing automation in to assist them, right? But we really need to help explain to the end users what's in it for them, how this will enhance their job, how this will make things better for them, how this will free them up to do the next level, higher level application development, and employ them as functional, users of the system. Besides just the end users, it's very important to have a C-level sponsor, right? Someone from the management team who understands the benefits of automation and who's going to be, we call it the automation champion, right? They'll help get the end users on board, and they'll help the citizens or the end users feel more comfortable with the tool, or feel more comfortable in general with the strategy. So I never suggest to do an automation project just with IT without having what we call a super user or functional users as part of the process. It's also very important to have the functional users buy-in, because they're the ones who are going to have to show you their day-to-day job, right? How they perform in the system. You're basically trying to replicate a lot of, or to automate a lot of their day-to-day business processes. So it's very important to understand both the manual part of their business process as well as what they're doing in the EBS system in order to be able to build out a proper automation to work through it, to do the steps. And in order to do that, you really have to have their sign-on and their support. So I say this to plan the long-term end game, but basically what I mean is it's not enough to just put an automation out there, have it be running, and wait for it to crash. One of the most important things is to be able to define what is considered a success. Is it that how many automations have been run? How much time is it saving your end users from doing the manual tasks? How many records have been entered into EBS without errors? What is going to be your measurable goal? Or is it how much money is saved and time is saved? You know, what's going to be your measurable goal? How are you going to measure the success of the program? And how are you going to monitor the success and analyze the results? A lot of the UiPath, well, not UiPath necessarily, but a lot of the RPA tools have statistics. They can tell you how many times the bot was run, what was the success level. A lot of the end users, you want to be measuring from them how long it used to take them to do their job prior to automation versus how long it takes now, and to be able to kind of get some sort of understandable thing. So what I want to show, I'll just give to this. This is an actual incredible use case that we had from one of our customers. So Jubilee Life Insurance realized that 60% of the DBA tasks were people that were getting queries stuck and they needed for a DBA to kill their session, that people needed to do a password change and they were not able to lock in, and that their accounts would get locked after they tried several times with an invalid password. It would lock them out of the account. Okay, so they realized that so much of the DBA's time was going to these tasks, and it was essentially making it that the DBA couldn't get to the major work, right? The thought-provoking, the application development, etc., because they were so busy handling all these support queries. So they created a bot, and they named her Shayna, and she is a virtual DBA. People at Jubilee Life could send her an email asking to unlock their account, change their password, or kill the session. And she performs the automated function on the database side in order to do those problems. They had a humongous success with this bot, saving tons, like we said, 60% of the DBA's time, that now they could focus and refocus back into the application development, which is their core business itself. And they were, in order to prove to the organization how successful it really is, what they did is they started tracking how many queries Shayna's been handling. So in only 6 months, she handled, 2,200 killing sessions, almost 1,500 changing passwords, 800 account locks. And then it was so successful that they added other very basic functionality, like changing the bank branch, changing the bank, changing the service agent. Can you imagine? Almost 40,000 changes of a service agent in only 6 months. Okay, So they handled 98,248 records in under 6 months. And now the management was so impressed by this and so excited by this that they're adding more and more functionality, including more complex functionality. But it just shows that the key is not only to start small, right? They really just started not by boiling the ocean, but by selecting small, bite-sized use cases that could be achievable very easily. They had end user buy-in because they made this very approachable AI named Shayna that people could email and get their responses. And then they tracked the success and they kept on rolling it out to management, who of course was very impressed with the incredible success of what was happening. Another thing they did, of course, is what we call recalibrate and refine. So after you have that monitoring and that success, right, you go in and you see, okay, what were we not able to do? What types of queries were people asking for the bot to do? And it was falling through the cracks, or it was giving an error message, etc. So one example we have was from our purchase order. Oh, hold on, I see that there's a question. Oh, one of the examples we have was from a purchase order entry. Basically, what happens is the end user sends a purchase order or a sales order to email. It gets parsed by a PDF parser. It inserts it automatically as an invoice into Oracle eBusiness Suite. And if it's successful, it sends the new order number and the information to procurement. And if it's not successful, it sends an error message. Okay, so everything was working fine. And then they saw that they kept on getting error messages because of the customer name. Okay, a lot of times it was saying customer does not exist. What was very interesting was, because a lot of times on the purchase order, instead of saying Aura Player Inc., it said Aura Player, or it said Aura Space Player, right? So they were able to look at some of the outliers, some of the errors, look at what was happening, the reason for the error message, recalibrate and readjust the workflow in order to successfully create to successfully refine the actual workflow and make it whole again. So a bot, you have to remember, is like a living object. It's not enough to create it once, leave it there, and have it float in the wind. It's really something that you have to constantly look at, monitor, analyze the results, recalibrate, see if it could be made more efficient, see if there's things to the side, like just like Jubilee Life did. First, they just did change passwords. Then they did account and lock and unlock. Then they added more, more use cases, more functionality to the existing flow. And just remember that it's something that's kind of like a living, breathing object and not just like a one-off. If the bot is built, I have a question here from Melissa. If the bot is built to accept ad hoc requests from end users, is there any Oracle authentication security that is built in? So it wasn't built to accept ad hoc requests. It had specific requests, but yes, what happened is they did it using LDAP from the email client. So they had Oracle DBMS LDAP. They were able to take the Oracle user and authenticate it with the email client. So, and it was for those specific things. It wasn't like they could insert data or things of that nature, right? They could only request specific functions, and it was the bot itself that would perform the functionality based on the email that was queried using LDAP from the person who sent the email. So now that we've discussed, the challenges and the pitfalls in general, there's an additional layer of challenges when it comes to Oracle RPA. Now, when it comes to Oracle RPA, again, we'll just remind you, we're not talking now about creating an API in the database. We're talking about literally capturing the front end, the screens of Oracle EBS as automated processes for things like testing, for things like automated processes for journal entry, for time reporting, for expense entry, for purchase order, whatever it may be. So the five main challenges that people are seeing is a lengthy process capture. EBS have very complex screens. Most RPA tools, such as UiPath, you have to create the bots by clicking on individual screen fields on the screen. If they have tab canvases, you need to do specific coding. If they have scroll bars, it could be specific coding. They don't necessarily support the DFFs, the customizations, and things of that nature. So a lot of times it takes a very long time to do process capture. The second is the lack of Oracle error handling. So in a lot of these clients, what tends to happen is if there's any type of error message that happens at the Oracle Forms level or the Oracle EBS level, you just get a stuck bot or you get a timeout. And then in order to understand why there's a timeout, you have to actually go back into the EBS, understand maybe there was an unhandled pop-up, maybe a different screen popped up than what the bot was expecting. And it takes a lot of work, especially if you're in the middle of a production level problem, to start figuring out what the error messages are. And that leads to time-consuming maintenance, right? You have to keep re-recording the bot, because if you get an unhandled pop-up or an unhandled screen, you actually have to record the bot from scratch in order to incorporate that new screen. And you have to do it from start to finish. There's no way of recording only partial parts of the flow. So with these types of RPA tools, a lot of times they don't handle the dynamic pop-ups and the hidden fields that tend to disrupt the automation. Next, it's really, with a lot of the tools, it's a complicated process to move between environments. What does that mean? You can't record on a development environment and then copy the script to QA, dev, prod, etc. Sometimes with these tools, you have to actually record on every environment and in every server. And some places, we work with a customer that has 22 live servers. So luckily with RPA, they don't have to record on every environment, but a lot of times with these companies, they do. So what the challenges mean essentially for your automation, you need to be talking to find the right tool for the right job if you're looking to do Oracle automation. So the questions to be asking essentially is to figure out firstly, how does the RPA tool capture the Oracle workflow? You should look for a tool that has some sort of automated capture or a toolbar or a process capture flow that could be done very quickly, because essentially if you have several workflows and several environments, you really want it to be that it can be captured as quickly and smoothly as possible. You want to know how the automations handle dynamic pop-up windows and hidden fields. So it could be sometimes that you log in with a different user and you get a whole different set of pop-ups or hidden fields, etc. You need to understand how that product is going to handle those types of personalizations and pop-ups and ensure that it's not going to crash or lead to instability in the box. We want to know if the RPA solution is able to respond with the Oracle error messages in real time, because you don't want to have to start doing a log hunt, I call it, right? Looking through all of the logs on the Oracle on the side to try to understand in real time what are the error messages, what's happening on the Oracle side, and why it's crashing out, right? We also want to know if the automations can withstand UI changes and patches and other environment changes. A lot of times the bots themselves are recorded using screen scraping or image capture. That means if any field on the screen moves a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right, it will not be able to withstand the bot. The bot will have to be re-recorded using the new X and Y position of the element. So you want to find a tool that is able to actually withstand those changes. And like we mentioned, that they're able to move quickly and easily between environments. So we talked a little bit about Jubilee Life's use case, but they now have extended to many more use cases of employees. They do HR when employees decide to leave the company and the approval processes, and doing manual termination. Everything is actually automated through a SharePoint portal. They're actually able to run the bots through SharePoint, but it's actually automating an Oracle Forms 11G backend. And there's tons of other use cases we have seen across all types of sectors, whether it's automating technicians in the field, self-service subscribers, absences and validations, item creation, sales order creation, shipping and inventory management, new vendor creation and setup, based on whatever sector people are in. So the key really here is to get started. So I always give a challenge at the end of each of my sessions saying that, I hope that today inspired some people to really, we had a few people at the outset that said they're just at the outset, they're starting to think about automation, but they're DBS developers and DBAs. So hopefully today gave you some sort of food for thought to start assessing your requirements. Do you think of any systems that could be ripe for automation in your organizations? Are there any platforms you might need to integrate with? What are the existing systems? Where does the business logic sit today? If the business logic is sitting in the database, you could use ORS, the Oracle REST Data Services. So you do some automation with that. Or if it's an e-business suite, you might be able to use the APIs. Or of course, you can contact us at Oracle. You can contact people at Viscosity to create APIs for you. And you have development resources to be able to do that. Next is, of course, to do a proof of concept. I am a huge fan of doing an automation proof of concept. There are things that can be done in a matter of days with specific use cases, and you see incredible results in management buy-in and end user buy-in, and to just better understand the process, right? To be able to define the timeline and budget. Then you decide on the RPA implementation method, whether that's selecting a tool, what tool works best for what type of systems that you're going to be automating, if it's primarily Oracle or if it's Oracle and Microsoft or SAP with Oracle or whatever it may be. And then, of course, you need to define the security architecture and to get started. So hopefully today gave you some food for thought. And I always say that by the next webinar we do together, hopefully, when I say, is anyone doing automation? Somebody that was on today's session will write back, yes, we started with a POC based on what we saw from your last session. I see we have 5 minutes left for questions. If anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. This is my information. If anybody wants to reach out to me offline if they don't feel as comfortable doing it online. And once again, thank you guys for joining me today. And thank you, Viscosity and New York Oracle User Group for having me.
Thank you so much, Mia. And guys, definitely take these last 5 minutes to ask her any questions if you can. We've got Mia from across the pond.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's really, truly a treat to have Mia presenting to us today. But take a quick screenshot of her information if you think you may have questions later. And if you think of something, you can always let NYOUG or myself know, and we can put you in touch with her as well. So I guess
Yes. So we have one question if there's any YouTube videos. So we have a YouTube channel. But Coleman, I'm happy to schedule with you. We're going to show you a live demo, Coleman. You don't deserve a YouTube. I will reach out to you, but you could get tons of demos on our YouTube channel.
The YouTube channel, possibly you can put the link in for the participants to see.
Sure, I'll put that in right now.
Good. Thank you, everybody, for attending this session, though. If you have any questions, please put it into the chat, the Q&A, and we'll get the answer for you. Otherwise, you can reach out to Mia afterwards, and she'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, everyone.
And we'll try to get this recording to you guys in the next couple days. Coleman knows he's got to bug me sometimes to to grab that recording a little faster, but we'll do you guys a favor and get it to you quicker, because I know this was great information today. All right. Okay, Mia's got the URL there for you guys in the chat section. Oh wait, host and panelists. Let's send that to everyone here. We'll go ahead and stick it into the email follow-up as well. Oh, I don't know why.
Be great.
.com/user/ Okay, you know what? We'll send it to you guys in the email. All right. Thank you guys so much. Catch us again for some more awesome webinars with NYOUG and Viscosity. We hope to see you guys around. If anyone is in Vegas next week at Oracle Cloud World, you should be able to find me and Mia. Reach out on Twitter, email, whatnot, and we'd love to hang out and meet you guys. All right. Thank you so much, Mia. Thanks, Coleman and Edward.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's it. Thanks, guys.
Bye for now.
Take care. Bye.